Alrighty, so let's talk about Dallas and let's talk about the Texas team. As today I will be doing the season preview for both Texas team. And by the way, I am wearing the old FC Dallas away kit, which, as I said before, it looks 100 times better than the current one, which is just a plain white away kit that they had. And also I am using red in terms of FC Dallas because I was going to use my blue marker to write majority of the things for their season preview, and then I realized the blue marker, there was no ink in it. I don't know why exactly that is the case. I just recently bought these new markers just 2 weeks ago. I believe it actually worked a couple of days ago when I write with the blue marker, and now it doesn't work anymore. So gotta remember later, after I've done both of these preview, that I'm gonna have to go to Target to buy some new marker and especially buy some new blue ones. But anyway, let's start with FC Dallas. And Dallas, this is a very interesting team because, for the last couple of seasons, they've been kind of stuck in a bit of a mediocrity range. I mean, they went from a team that was challenged for a supporter show and winning U.S. Open Cup to a team that's kind of stuck in a bit of mediocrity. And last season, they finished 7th. They just sneaked into the playoffs with a record of 13, 9, and 12. They had 48 points. They scored 48 goals and conceded 46 and had a goal differential of +2. These numbers are also right in the middle of the pack in terms of, if you look at the stats between the goals that have scored and the goals have allowed by each team. Last season summary, as I mentioned, they barely made it to the playoffs by finishing 7th in the Western Conference. They got eliminated in the first round of the playoffs, and that certainly is going to be one of the most memorable playoff game we'll ever witness, because that was a game when they were playing against the Sounders where FC Dallas refused to die. Like, they came back 3 times in that game and forced this game to extra time and almost gave the potential MLS Cup champion a huge scare and almost knocked them out in the first round. But unfortunately, they weren't able to do that, and they did lose a heartbreaker in that game after extra time, and they also got knocked out in the round of 16 in the U.S. Open Cup. Now, in terms of players that they bought in, not a lot of players that they have bought in. Dallas has never been a team that's known for transfers, and really the only time when they decide to bring players in are usually from their academy, because, as I mentioned many times before, Dallas, alongside with the Red Bulls and maybe even RSL, have the strongest academy out of all of MLS. But they did bring Fafa Pico from the Union to Dallas. They bring Thiago Santos, and then they will bring Franco Jara, who is currently playing with Pachuca, but he's going to leave Pachuca in July and join this team. And I guess the reason why they want to sign him is because they feel like they really need a goal scored on this team, which I will get to the fact that this is one of the biggest problem for Dallas for the past couple of seasons. Now, in terms of player that is out of this team, Edwin Jerseys, Dallas decided not to re-sign him. He was actually on loan, and they decided to not exercise the option to buy. Eric Alexander, Moses Hernandez, Christian Coman, Dominic Obaji, who went to Nashville, and Jacori Hayes, who went to Minnesota. Now, in terms of goals scored, I could have easily put a question mark in there because that's really been a big issue for Dallas for the past couple of seasons, where they just don't have a true goal scored. But I'm actually going to put Zdeněk Jonstig, and I believe I actually spelled his name wrong. Apologies to that. But I put his name on there with a question mark because I thought last year when he came to this team and he really started to get some starting minute with this team in the second half of the season, he looked like the goal scored for Dallas, and that, maybe he might be the main goal scorer of this team. It might be Jesus Ferreira too, because he led the team last season in terms of goals. But again, there is definitely a big question mark of who exactly Dallas think that is the main goal scorer of this team. And that, if you have seen me talk about Dallas many times, either in the previews or in the reviews, I always talk about how, yes, they're scoring goals, and that it's great the fact that there always is going to be someone stepping up in terms of scoring the goals. But the problem is, what happened if you're going to have an instant where those same players and those bunch of players that are able to step up to score a goal in every game aren't able to do that, and the well, of course, runs dry, then that's gonna be a problem for Dallas, and it's been a problem for this team, especially for the last couple of seasons. I remember 2 years ago that was a huge problem in the second half of the season, and hence that's why they, of course, had that collapse in the second half of the season. Playmaker on this team, I'm gonna go with Michael Barrios. I mean, Barrios, I think a lot of people didn't talk about how he had an amazing season, and probably his career best season when he had 15 assists on this team. I mean, the next guy on this team in terms of the assist leader chart only had 6 assists on this team. So Michael Barrios actually had more than double the amount the second place player in terms of the assist chart for Dallas, and that I feel like a lot of people wasn't really talking about that and appreciate how much he was a playmaker to this team. Now, can he of course do it this year? We'll see how it's gonna go, but since he of course lead the assist chart, am gonna put Michael Barrios in there. Now MVP, I'm gonna go with Paxton Pomykal, and yes, I am one of those people that are part of the hype that the media generate with the fact that Paxton Pomykal can really be the next best thing, and he could be a future player in that U.S. men's national team midfield, and he can really anchors that. Last season, he had an okay season. I mean, his season kind of was derailed a little bit with injuries that he has suffered last season, but you can definitely see when he was not in the starting 11 with this Dallas team, how much this Dallas team really miss his presence, which just tells you how important he is. And, you know, again, I'm kind of one of those guys that is buying into the hype that he can be the next best thing. And it's also worth mentioning that he's also one of my favorite player in the league. So I'm definitely wishing he can not only be the MVP of this team, but he can also do very well with this team that I think in a couple of years we can definitely see him moving on from FC Dallas to somewhere in Europe. Now, in terms of surprise package, I put a big question mark on there because it's not that FC Dallas doesn't have a surprise package, it's that they have tons of surprise package. And when you look at all these kind of players on the roster that are relatively young and are coming out of the academy, and then you have also these other players that is currently either playing with the USL League One team North Texas SC, or they're just about to be coming into this Dallas team. You know, you don't know exactly who exactly will be the guy to step in. I mean, last season, if I would have choose a surprise package, I would have put a question mark, but I would have also said it might have been either Paxton Pomykal or Jesus Ferreira, and I kind of got right in terms of one of them because Jesus Ferreira was really the surprise package from last season. Although technically, I know he got a lot of attention because his father used to play for Dallas and he was a legend at this club. But he certainly really surprised a lot of people by being the top goal scorer of this team. So, you know, this season I'm not going to put him on the surprise package because we already know that he can definitely be a very decent player and that it's not really any surprise whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, I definitely will, you know, I can't really quite think of right now who exactly is going to be that surprise package of. I do heard of this kid called Ricardo Pepe, who is a guy that has been really hyped up as a guy of could potentially be a very devastated striker, and that, you know, he's currently playing, well, for the majority of last year he was playing with North Texas SC, and that, you know, maybe this season he's going to get more minutes and shown his quality that he has. So maybe he could be the surprise package of this season. But again, I really don't know with the way that they just have so many players on this team that can definitely be the surprise package. And, you know, in the beginning you probably thought, okay, that's just another homegrown player coming out of the academy to basically insert into this team, and that this is another example of Dallas doing a great job transition these players from the academy to the starting 11 and be a decent starters. But we don't know who exactly that player is going to be. Now, what I like about this team, again, I really like this young, hard-working core. I mean, I thought last season was a rebuilding year because, the old core of FC Dallas, the one that they, of course, built from the academy, was kind of moving on, and that now we're going to have a new generation of players that came out of this FC Dallas academy that is getting regular minutes with this team last season, and I thought it might be a time where they're going to be heading into a transition period. And let's also not forget that they also have a new head coach in Luchi Gonzalez, and I thought, I know he is a guy that has worked with the academy a lot and knows how to get the best out of these players that's coming out of the academy, but I still thought that it was a transitional period with this team. Well, they kind of did a very good job in terms of this transitional period, and although, as I mentioned, they kind of finished this season right in the middle of the pack, and it kind of just shows that they were in another year of kind of mediocrity. At least they're showing progress that maybe in the next couple of years we could really be seeing the same FC Dallas team from a couple of years ago, where this was a team that regularly challenged for Supporter Shield, and they were challenging for the US Open Cup, and maybe even challenging for MLS Cup. And that's all because of the fact that this young core is just as hardworking as the previous young core that this Dallas team built from the academy. Now, the big question with this team isn't really the fact that are they going to be good enough in the second year, and that the old cliche of a sophomore slump, and that you could have a great first year, but in the second year expectation is definitely going to go up, and that can these young players is going to sustain this kind of expectation that they have in the second year. Well, that would be a good big question to ask, but I think the biggest question that Dallas needs to ask themselves is that who's going to be the main goal scorer, and do they really need a main goal scorer for this team? I mean, they have shown times where they don't really necessarily need to have a main goal scorer, and that they can find everybody on that team that's been able to score a goal. I mean, there's been time last season where I, of course, mention whenever I talk about Dallas in a preview or a review, or especially in the review, I kind of read off players' names that I didn't think that they were going to be the main goal scorer, and I think I read off numerous different names on that team because they have so many guys on this team that can be pivotal to step up in terms of scoring a goal in a vital moment. But as I said before, what happened if that doesn't happen? And most of these good teams, usually when you want to be a good team and you want to challenge for MLS Cup, they usually have at least one good goal scored, and one goal scored that can really, when the team really need a goal, whether it's in the playoffs where they're down and they need to have a goal to either tie the game up or potentially go ahead in the game, they usually have that goal scored and that they can rely on him to do the job. This Dallas team, I don't know about that, and that's where it's kind of the biggest weakness in terms of just when you don't have a goal scored, but you do kind of rely on a lot of these players on this team to score goals on a vital moment, and that when that does not happen, that's when this team goes into a goal drought. So for me, I feel like they could still continue what they do, where they will always find a way of one of their players, whether it's a striker, midfielder, or even a fullback player, to able to score the goals for them. But I feel like they need to have a main goal scorer, and this is why, as I said before, going back to Franco Jara, they brought him in because they thought that he was going to maybe be the main goal scorer. And last season when they brought Zdeněk Odronsik in, they thought the Cobra was going to be the main goal scorer, and he was kind of the main goal scorer for a bit in the latter part of the season. I mean, he was in tremendous form in the latter part of the season between August and September, but his form really kind of started to drop down, and that is really one of the reasons why, if they're going to get a striker, they got to make sure not only he can score the goals, but also be able to consistently score for this team. But either way, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. If you're a Dallas fan, what do you think of the offseason acquisition and the player that is leaving your team? Who do you think is going to be the main goal scorer? Who's going to be the playmaker, MVP? And who exactly is going to be the surprise package and who is going to be the guy that's going to be coming out of either the academy or playing currently playing with the reserve team that's going to be coming into the squad, and he will really surprise you of what quality he's going to bring to this team. What do you like about this team, and what is the one burning question you want to know from this team as the season is about to begin? But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.